Welcome back to J&J Dynasty. All right, today we're going to be looking at wide receivers for the 2022 draft class. This is just prior to the week of the NFL draft. So these are going to be how I feel or expectations of wide receiver players, who to go after, who not to go after, as far as prior to the NFL draft. So this could all change depending on their landing spots, obviously. So we'll go from there. So let's start off here. We'll go back to the full screen. So this is how Fantasy Pros has these guys rated overall with the expert consensus rankings. You can look up at the top. It says the rookies pre-draft. Well, actually, I put that in, but the overall QB top second line, it says rookies, and that's just 1 through 68, I think, is what they have them rated. So I grabbed the top about 60 players, put them in here. So as we know, there's a group of 5 to 7 wide receivers that are going to go easily in the first round, right? And according to Fantasy Pros, the number one guy is Garrett Wilson. It's pretty funny how both Wilson and Olave remind me of two guys from the last two drafts. They remind me of Justin Jefferson, and they remind me of Devonta Smith, right? Very similar builds. They look like that. Both those two guys. So to me, I don't think he can go wrong, but I don't know if they're going to be difference makers. They'll probably be top 20 wide receivers through most of their careers, depending on their landing spot. But Garrett Wilson, I definitely like him. I don't know if he's going to be a superstar. I like all of his assets. I think he's a little bit small, but he will fill out. You got to remember these guys are typically under 24 years old. How much did we fill out after that? I mean, I couldn't put on weight at that point. Now I'm way too heavy. So with the right nutrition and with the right training, these guys will put on weight. They'll keep their speed. They'll learn how to run routes better. It shouldn't be an issue. The biggest issue with wide receivers with me is hands. You gotta have good hands, right? So if you can snatch the ball, not body catch, that's my biggest thing. These used to be hands of gold, short, fat hands of gold. So at any rate, that's what I look for. Number one, hands. Can they get open? Can they get separation? Can they make a play? You can run the best route. You can have the most speed. You can have the most athletic ability. The ball can get thrown to you, and if you can't catch the damn ball, it's all for naught. So hands is number one for me. Garrett Wilson has good hands. He has everything that you want in a receiver, which is why he's at this value. You have Trailon Burke. Trailon Burke has a couple issues that may or may not be popping up. His limited route tree is one of the things that a lot of people are saying. His physical assets aren't as good as advertised from his college time, right? Excuse me. I got a frog in my throat all of a sudden here, and so I guess we'll deal with it, right? Trailon Burke has a couple issues. I mean, he to me reminds me of a guy like Metcalf. Everybody had a lot of issues going into the draft, fantasy draft, or NFL draft with Metcalf and fantasy also. So Trailon Burke to me is a lot like that. Drake London getting all of the comparables to Mike Evans. I see it. A lot of people see it. It is what it is, right? So he on a lot of people's boards is number one, even though he did not run a 40 time yet. You can see that he's fast. He has some yak ability with not knowing his time and stuff like that. What is it actually going to be? A lot of times it winds up being how much do you want it? I mean, Deebo Samuel is not the fastest guy in the world, but how much does that guy want to score a touchdown, to get the extra 5 yards? So I don't see a lot of that in London, but I mean, these guys, again, are young. Jameis Williams, everybody loves him. He probably will be the number one wide receiver off the board with his landing spot and what the time frame of his injury getting fixed. So he probably has the most upside from what everybody thinks and is saying throughout the fantasy communities, the NFL communities. If you're playing Dynasty, don't let a torn ACL, don't let a month or two missing a part of a season, especially a rookie season. I mean, even if he doesn't perform well, remember him for next year. Get him in a trade next offseason. Next offseason is going to be big, right? So if you have a late first round pick next year, I would be going after James Williams, especially if he has a poor rookie performance. Because this is the caveat, right? He's going to be coming off his ACL. He's most likely going to be having or dealing with back and hamstring type issues, right? Leg issues, right? So don't expect the world from him. If he does something crazy like Cam Akers and comes back and looks good, well, then it's a bonus. But if he doesn't, which is most likely the case, you can probably get him for a late first round pick next year because the top end is going to be so high, right? So that's a little tidbit for next year already. Chris Olave, him and Garrett Wilson look so similar and so identical to me. It's crazy. So depending on where his draft landing spot is, I could see him also being the number one guy off the board. I mean, literally, those five guys, any one of those five guys could be the first wide receiver off the board. Depending on landing spot, could be the first overall pick off the board, usurping or surpassing Breece Hall. So that's what we have on that. The next guy they have here is a number 8 down here is George Pickens. Personally, not my guy. I've seen many guys like him with the uber athletic ability can dominate the lower levels. I'm not the type of guy that breaks down film. I watch games, right? I get the gut instinct. I listen to what people say. I take bits and pieces of what experts say breaking down film, what experts say, things. Pickens has all the athletic ability in the world. Great prospect coming out of high school. Great prospect in college. Looked fantastic. Blew out his knee, right? That's what everybody's saying, right? I don't see it. His junior year, or 2 years ago, I watched at least half of the Georgia's games, right? They kept talking him up. What a great receiver he was. I saw him make catches. I saw him make some nice catches. I also saw him drop a lot of balls that he shouldn't. And there was better quarterback play there that year than there was at the end of the year last year than there was this year for Georgia. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about who followed Georgia. I don't think he has the hands. I mean, he reminds me a lot of CeeDee Lamb. I may be wrong on this. So far, I am wrong on this. I did not like CeeDee Lamb coming out of college. He looked like a body catcher to me. I didn't see the hands. We will see. This year will be the determining year with CeeDee Lamb. And it's Pickens. I mean, CeeDee Lamb had a down year last year after a phenomenal rookie season, right? So, to me, the jury's still out on CD. It could go both ways. I hope for CeeDee Lamb's sake, it goes the way it's supposed to, but I see George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb very similarly. That's to me, all right? Jahan Dotson comes in at number 10 overall on Fantasy Pros. I like him. I like his playability. I got burnt on KJ Hamler, and to me, I don't give a crap what school you go to. He kind of reminds me of Hamler, but he doesn't in many respects. I mean, he's smaller, he's speedy, so people want to make that comparison. I don't like it. Just because they both came from Penn State. Hamler is much thicker. I think that Hamler is much smaller as far as height. Hamler's got good hands, but Hamler also can't stay healthy. So With that said, Hamler might break out this year, right? With a new guy, but throwing the ball. But Doxson, to me, he's a guy. Take a shot on him. He's slotted in the right spot. He will probably be a good receiver. I think that he's going to be a top 30 type wide receiver for much of his career, 25 to 50. If that's what you get with him in fantasy, that's good. He's probably your number 3 wide receiver for years. There's nothing wrong with that. But just understand where he's going to slide in, right? That's what you got to think about. Christian Watson, he's boom or bust to me. I see a lot of potential. I see him snatching the ball right out of the air with his hands. Limited opportunity with him at South Dakota State. They didn't run a good offense for his skill set. He didn't come out as a junior because he played one game, right? He didn't have the tape. He didn't have the numbers to do it, right? So if he would have come out as a junior after playing one game when Lance came out, he'd have been laughed out of the room. They would have done his measurables, and what would happen? He probably at that point last year would have been maybe a draft pick because of his ability. So that's what we have with that. Let's see if we can change now.
We got new people.
Got people at the office here, so trying to do a quick stupid video. And hopefully everybody is gone now. Well, maybe not. So as we go down, oh, I got that was round 5. Let's go this way. Round 2, Sky Moore. I like Sky Moore. I think that he's going to be a very good slot receiver. He's probably, once again, like Doxson, going to be somewhere between 20 and 40, I think, for him for most of the years, depending on his landing spot. So he's a guy who I keep a little tickle in the back of my head if he's available in the mid to late second round. Grab him. They have him right now at 13, so that's going to probably be late first, early second in most PPR Dynasty 1 QB leagues. David Bell is very intriguing to me. He doesn't have and he's listed here at number 15. David Bell is very intriguing to me because he doesn't have supposedly the skills from what everybody's telling us, but that is not the case. He does have the slow 40 time. He's a little bit bigger receiver, but many guys like this do very well in the NFL. People always want to compare him to Brandon Marshall, Allen Robinson. Well, how about Chris Carter, right? Wasn't the fastest guy, had hands of gold, could run crisp routes, was always an intermediate, was a chain mover. He could be a PPR darling, with it. So a lot of respect and a lot of aspects. I have a lot of love for David Bell. In my drafts, I don't know if I'm going to get many shares of him because I don't think that I'm going to have spots. I'm not going to overdraft him. I'm not going to do that kind of thing. So where my draft picks are in my leagues, most of my leagues, I'm probably not going to be able to get him for many shares. And I value running backs higher. So at the end of the second round, middle of the second round, I'd rather take a shot at running backs. So for me, I like David Bell a lot. Get him if you can. Yeah, if you want to reach up to just before the middle of the second round, it'd be a good spot. But I like David Bell. He's got the hands. If the ball's within his wingspan, he's going to come down with it. So that's that. Well, now we got a party happening here. Some other guys, we'll just rapid fire on John Mechie. I think that he's going to be a guy. Justin Ross, I like his upside. I like what he did, his breakout age. He was a better receiver than T. Higgins 3 years ago before his back issues. So he's one of the guys that I do actually really like, and I like his opportunity. But I want to take a shot at him at the late third round, early fourth round, not in the mid to late second. So that's where I'm at with him. Let me see here a little bit further down here. Jalen Tolbert, wide receiver 13, is he didn't test out of the world. He has a lot of love on a lot of channels, and I'm not seeing it, but he's a guy that I will definitely take a chance on, right? So if we do that, let's do this. Okay, round 3. Now it becomes a little bit more sparse because a lot of the wide receivers are a whole lot higher. Wandel Robinson was running back in Nebraska for 2 years. Simply don't like him. I don't like his speed. He had some big break runs and stuff like that with his highlights. I'm just not a fan. I mean, everybody pubbed him, but it's all about value. If you get him at the end of the third or fourth round, we'll take that, right? So, but that's where I would go with him. Khalil Shakur, he's got a lot of nice draftable characteristics. I'm just not a big fan of his. This guy, number 32, Alec Pierce. I've heard a lot of things. I've heard a few people talk him up. I've heard a few people say that he's going to be the fifth best wide receiver. So that's what I always look for with the wide receivers is who is everybody going to push down because of the offensive system or for some reason but they're a fantastic wide receiver. Stephon Diggs, all these guys. So that's what we're looking at. With him, I think that he's got the speed, he's got the size, he's got the hands. He didn't have the right opportunity. With a guy who's supposed to get drafted highly, I don't think that he had great quarterback play either, from the things that people have said. So he is one of the guys who I definitely am going to be taking a chance on, probably in the early third instead of, I guess 32 would be about the early third, right? Calvin Austin, I think that he's just a guy. I think Alec Pierce could be a top 20 guy conceivably for quite a few years. What else we got here? And then the rest are, other positions. Let's get to round 4 if we can here. All right, so then we have a bunch of tight ends here coming off at the top of the board. Traequan Thornton, another guy who has the possibilities of being something. I'm not going to be really strong on him, but in the 4th round, throw a dart at him, take a shot at him, go with it. Romeo, yeah, at 46 there, same thing, take a shot on him. Getting to the end of this, there was one other guy who I did like here, or wanted to say something about when we get down here to 55, right? Bo Milton. He is more of a body catcher than I like. He is fast. He's got adequate size, almost 6 feet, runs like a deer. With his combine, on film, he looks slower to me than he plays. But when I was watching his film, the thing that kept sticking out to me is he looked like Deebo Samuel light. He likes the contact. He likes to get the extra yards. He's a football player. So that in itself, I like about him. So I'm getting away from the hands thing a little bit with him, right? But I do like the opportunity, especially at the draft position for him, and especially depending on where he goes, right? So hands can get better in the whole 9 yards. We've got some other guys down here at the bottom of the list. I went past 5th round here a little bit, but that's what we have. And so there we go. That's kind of your wrap up for wide receivers for this point. I tried to do a video at the office here real quickly while I had some time. I'm a real estate agent. I was waiting for an offer to come back, but everybody decides to have a powwow while I'm trying to do a video here. So as soon as I get off here, I'm sure it's going to go deathly silent. Hopefully it doesn't bother you too much, but that's kind of my takes on the wide receivers. If you have any questions about that, leave a comment down below, right? I can answer any questions there. Please click, and subscribe. So when I do premieres, you guys can get the videos and go from there. Until then, take care. From J&J Dynasty.